Captain Tay stood on the bridge of the Exodus Dawn and watched the stars bend around his ship. This was humanity's first real journey into deep space. After 200 years of trying, humans had finally built an engine that could travel faster than light. The ship was small and the crew was smaller. Just 12 people willing to risk everything to see what lay beyond. Earth Solar System. Tay checked the navigation console where Hannah sat, her fingers dancing across the controls. She was young, barely 25, but she had the sharpest mind for numbers he had ever seen. Next to her, Wu monitored the engines with the focused intensity of someone who knew that one mistake could kill them all. In the science station, Yuna cataloged everything they saw, recording data that would make history back home. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," Hannah said. Her voice was calm, but Tay heard the edge in it. Energy signatures. Lots of them. Too many to be natural. Tay moved to her station. The screen showed dozens of bright spots, moving in patterns that could only mean one thing. Ships. A lot of ships. And they were fighting. "Battle stations," Tay ordered. Not that it would matter. The Exodus Dawn had no real weapons. They were explorers, not warriors. "Can we go around them?" Hannah shook her head. "We're already too close. They've probably seen us." She was right. The screen lit up with an incoming signal. No words, just a sharp pulse of energy that hit their ship like a hammer. Systems went dark. Emergency lights flickered on. The ship shuddered and stopped moving. "We're caught in some kind of tractor beam," Wu said, his hands flying over the dead controls. "I can't break free." Through the viewport, Tay saw a massive ship approaching. It looked like nothing humans had ever built. The hull was dark and covered in sharp angles that seemed designed to intimidate. As it grew closer, smaller ships surrounded the Exodus Dawn like wolves circling prey. "What do we do?" Hannah asked. Tay straightened his uniform. "We meet them, and we try not to die." The aliens came aboard through a hole they cut in the hull. Tay and his crew stood in the cargo bay, unarmed and waiting. When the first alien stepped through, Yuna gasped. It stood nearly 8 feet tall, covered in dark chitinous armor that looked grown rather than made. 4 arms, each ending in hands that could crush a human skull. Eyes like black diamonds, cold and calculating. 6 more aliens followed. They moved with military precision, weapons raised and aimed at the humans. One of them stepped forward, larger than the others. It studied the humans for a long moment before speaking. The words came from a device on its chest, translating alien sounds into rough English. "You are spies," it said. "From the Altharians. You will tell us your mission or you will die." "We're not spies," Tay said, keeping his voice steady. "We're explorers. From Earth. We didn't know anyone was here." The alien's translator made a sound that might have been laughter. "Earth. We have no record of this place." "You lie. Check our ship," Yuna said suddenly. She stepped forward before Tay could stop her. "Look at our technology. We're primitives. We just invented faster-than-light travel 6 months ago. This is our first voyage beyond our home system." The large alien, who Tay assumed was the commander, gestured to 2 of its soldiers. They left and returned an hour later with what looked like human computer equipment. They spoke to their commander in their own language. Harsh sounds like metal scraping metal. The commander turned back to the humans. Through his translator, he said, "You speak truth. Your technology is crude, inefficient. You should not have survived this journey." "But we did," Tay said. "And now we're here. We mean you no harm. Let us go, and we'll return home. You'll never see us again." The alien was silent for a long time. Its black eyes studied each human in turn. When it looked at Yuna, she didn't look away. Instead, she spoke. "What are you called?" She asked. "Your species?" "We are Vorm," the commander said, "and we have been at war for 300 years. In war, there is no room for mercy. Unknown ships in our territory must be destroyed. It is the law." "Then why are you talking to us?" Yuna asked. "Why not just kill us?" The Vorm commander moved closer to her. It was so tall she had to crane her neck to look at its face. "Because you ask questions. You show curiosity, not fear. This is unusual. We've dreamed of meeting aliens our whole lives," Yuna said. "Even if you kill us, we gotta see that dream come true. That's worth something." The commander made that scraping sound again. It turned to its soldiers and spoke rapidly. They lowered their weapons. The commander turned back to Tay. "I am called Thelver," it said. "I command this battle group. By all laws of my people, I should execute you and destroy your ship. But I will not." "Why not?" Tay asked. "Because I have killed too much in this war," Thelver said. "I have watched my people die for centuries over a conflict that no one remembers how it started. And now I meet a species that has just learned to walk among the stars, full of wonder and questions. Perhaps," it paused, "perhaps this is what we Vorum once were before the war, before the killing." Dover turned to one of its soldiers and gave orders. The soldier left and returned with a data device. Delver handed it to Tay. "These are coordinates," Delver said. "They will lead you to safe space, away from the war zones. Go home. Build your civilization. Grow strong. But never come to this sector again. Next time, you will not find someone like me. You will find only death." "Why are you doing this?" Tay asked. Delver looked at each human one last time. "Because mercy is rare in this galaxy. Perhaps by showing it, I remind myself that I am more than a killer. Now go, before I change my mind." The Vorum soldiers escorted the humans back to their ship and released the tractor beam. As the Exodus Dawn's engines came back online, Wu got them moving as fast as possible. They followed Thelver's coordinates through a series of jumps that took them far from the battle. 3 weeks later, they limped back into Earth's orbit. The ship was damaged but intact. The crew was shaken but alive. In the debriefing room, Tay told the story to Earth's leaders. Some wanted to build weapons and go back. Others wanted to hide and hope the aliens never found Earth. Tay disagreed with both. "We owe them a debt," he said. "That alien saved our lives when he didn't have to. He could have killed us. He probably should have killed us by his own laws. But he chose mercy. So what do you suggest?" Asked the defense minister. Tay looked at the stars through the window. "We grow. We learn. We become strong. And if we ever find the Vorum again, we pay back what was given to us. That's what humans do. We remember." Hannah nodded. "We never forget." Yuna added quietly, "And we always pay our debts." The meeting ended, but Tay's words echoed through Earth's military academies and government halls for years to come. The story of Thelver became humanity's first lesson about the galaxy. Mercy was rare and precious, and those who showed it deserved to be remembered. Somewhere in the distant war zones, Delver returned to his ship. He erased all records of the encounter, knowing what his superiors would do if they found out he had spared potential enemies. But as he looked at the stars, he felt something he hadn't felt in decades: hope. 300 years had passed since Captain Tay's encounter with the Vorum. Earth was no longer a single planet hiding in a small corner of space. Humanity had spread across 200 star systems, building colonies and stations wherever they could. They had met dozens of alien species, some friendly and some not. Through trade, theft, and reverse engineering, human technology had grown at a speed that shocked the older civilizations. Admiral Jin stood in the command center of the Mars Defense Platform, watching displays that showed the locations of human fleets across known space. He was tall and lean, with gray starting to show in his black hair despite being only 45. His uniform carried medals from 3 different wars. On his desk sat an old photograph of his grandfather, the legendary Captain Tay. Every human child learned the story of first contact in school. How Tay and his crew had stumbled into an alien war. How they should have died but were saved by a single Varm commander who chose mercy over duty. The story ended with Tay's promise. Humanity always pays its debts. Jin had grown up with that story. He had built his career on its principles. And now, as one of humanity's highest-ranking military officers, he had the power to make good on his grandfather's promise. If only he could find the Vorum. The problem was simple. The Vorum Empire no longer existed. According to galactic records, they had lost their centuries-long war about 50 years ago. Their species was scattered, hunted, and dying. Most databases said they were already extinct. Jin didn't believe that, but finding proof was hard. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he called. A woman entered, young but with the confident walk of someone who knew her value. Her name was Sora, and she was humanity's best Xena historian. She specialized in finding old alien records that everyone else had forgotten about. "Admiral, I found something," Sora said, placing a datapad on his desk. "It took 6 months of searching through abandoned Vorum databases, but I found records from their military trials." Jin picked up the pad. "What kind of trials?" "The kind where they execute their own officers for treason," Sora said quietly. "Look at entry 7453. Jin scrolled through the file until he found it. The record was written in Vorum script, but the translator did its work. He read it once, then again, his hands tightening on the pad. Commander Thelver, decorated war hero, executed for violation of military protocol. Crime: releasing unknown aliens in a war zone without authorization. Final statement: I saw something in the humans worth preserving. Perhaps that was my error." "They killed him," Jin said softly. "They killed him for saving us." Sora nodded. 3 weeks after your grandfather returned to Earth, the Vorum tracked the encounter through ship logs. Delver was arrested, tried, and executed. It took me months to find this because the Vorum tried to erase all record of it. They were ashamed that one of their commanders had shown mercy to strangers. Jin set down the pad and walked to the window. Beyond the glass, Mars stretched out red and dusty, dotted with domes where millions of humans lived. All of this existed because Thelver had made a choice, and his own people had killed him for it. "Are there any Vorum left?" Jin asked. "Maybe," Sora said. "I've been tracking rumors. Reports of refugee fleets near the Galactic Rim. The Altherians won the war, and they're still hunting down survivors. If any Vorum are alive, they're running and hiding." Jin turned back to her. "Find them. Use whatever resources you need. Hack databases, bribe information brokers. Follow every lead no matter how small. Find the Vorum." "Sir, even if we find them, what then? The Altherians are our allies. They help protect our trade routes. If we interfere with their hunts, we could start a war." "Then, we start a war," Jin said simply. "Thelver saved humanity when we were weak and helpless. He died for that choice. If his people still exist, we owe them everything. And humanity always pays its debts." Sora smiled slightly. "You sound like your grandfather." "Good," Jin said. "Get to work." For the next 3 months, Sora worked with a small team of intelligence agents, searching for any trace of surviving Vorum. They hacked into Altherian military networks, intercepted communications, and followed patterns in refugee movements. The search was dangerous. The Altherians were suspicious by nature, and they monitored their territory carefully. Finally, Sora got a break. An intercepted message from an Altherian hunter group mentioned multiple chitinous targets fleeing toward the Veil Nebula. The description matched Vorum biology. The hunter group was requesting backup to finish the extermination. Sora brought the data to Jin immediately. He called an emergency meeting with his senior staff. In the room were his best officers, Quan, his tactical genius who could outthink any opponent, Hey, commander of humanity's elite special forces, and Bin, an intelligence operative who could hack anything with a computer core. This is it, Jin said, displaying the intercepted message. Vorum refugees, running for their lives. The Altherians are hunting them with multiple fleets. If we don't move now, an entire species dies. How many ships are we talking about? Quan asked. The refugee fleet appears to be 12 ships, Bin said, pulling up sensor data. Old, damaged, barely functional. Maybe 40,000 Vorum total. The Altherian forces hunting them are much larger. At least 50 warships, with more on the way. Hay leaned forward. And you want to rescue them from the Altherians? Sir, they're our allies. This could destroy that relationship. I know, Jin said, but we're going anyway. I'm not asking for volunteers. I'm giving orders. We leave in 6 hours. The government won't approve this, Quan said. Not without a vote. Not without debate. Jin smiled coldly. Then we won't tell them until after it's done. By the time Earth finds out, we'll already be at the Veil Nebula. They can court-martial me later if they want. But I'm not letting the Vorum die when we have the power to save them. Why? Hay asked. Why risk everything for aliens we've never met? Jin pulled up the old photograph of Captain Tay on the main screen. Next to it, he displayed Thelver's execution record. 300 years ago, a Vorum commander saved 12 humans because he believed in mercy. His own people executed him for it. Those 12 humans went home and built everything we have now. Every ship, every colony, every human alive today exists because Thelver made a choice. Jin looked at each officer in turn. We teach our children that humanity pays its debts, that we never forget those who help us, that our work means something in this galaxy. If we let the Vorum die now, all of that is a lie. We become just another species that only cares about profit and politics. The room was silent. Finally, Quan spoke. What's the plan, sir? We assemble a task force, Jin said. Fast ships, heavy weapons, our best crews. We find the Vorum before the Altherians do. We offer them sanctuary in human space. And if the Altherians try to stop us... He paused. Then they learn what happens when you stand between humanity and its debts. This could start a galactic war, Bin said quietly. I know, Jin replied. But some things are worth fighting for. Thelver thought humanity was worth dying for. The least we can do is prove him right. Over the next 6 hours, Jin assembled his task force in secret. He pulled ships from different fleets, using training exercises and patrol reassignments as cover. 12 warships, humanity's newest and fastest. Crews were told they were going on a classified mission. Only the command staff knew the truth. As the fleet prepared to jump, Jin sent a final message to Earth. In it, he explained everything. The debt to Thelver, the dying Vorum, his decision to act. He ended with his grandfather's words. Humanity always pays its debts. Then he gave the order, and 12 human warships jumped toward the Veil Nebula, toward a people they had never met, toward a confrontation with their own allies, toward a debt 300 years old. In her lab, Sora watched the fleet disappear and whispered a prayer to whatever gods might be listening. Jin was risking everything on a principle. On the idea that mercy deserved to be repaid. On the belief that humanity's word meant something. She hoped the galaxy was ready for what humanity was about to do. Because once they started down this path, There was no going back. The debt would be paid, whatever the cost. The Altherian 7th Fleet arrived in human space 3 days after. Jin rescued the Vorum. It was a show of force designed to intimidate. 50 warships, some of them twice the size of anything humanity had built. They came out of hyperspace in perfect formation, weapons powered but not yet firing. A message of power and barely restrained anger. Admiral Jin stood on the bridge of the Eternal Vigil and watched them arrive. His own fleet was much smaller, just the 12 ships he had taken on the rescue mission. Behind them, safe in human territory, the Vorum refugees were being transferred to stations where they could receive medical care and food. Matriarch Vess had sent a message thanking him. It was the first time a Vorum had thanked a human in 300 years. "They're hailing us," Bin said from his station. Supreme Commander Keelshar himself. "He's demanding to speak with you." "Put him on screen," Jin ordered. The view screen flickered and showed an Altherian commander. The Altherians were a tall, thin species with pale skin and large eyes that saw in spectrums humans couldn't. They were known for being brilliant tacticians and utterly ruthless with enemies. Keelshar wore the crimson uniform of their highest military rank. His expression was cold fury. "Admiral Jin," Keelshar said, his translator making his words sound harsh. "You have committed an act of war against the Altherian coalition. You interfered with a military operation. You stole property that was legally ours to claim. And you used military force within our declared territory." "The Vorum aren't property," Jin replied calmly. "They're people. And the territory you claim used to be theirs before you took it. We conquered the Vorum through legitimate warfare," Keelshar said. "Their remnants are ours to deal with as we see fit. You had no right to interfere." "We had every right," Jin said. 300 years ago, the Vorum saved humanity from extinction. We repaid that debt. That's all." Keelshar's expression twisted into something that might have been contempt. "You humans speak often of debts and honor, but you are young in this galaxy. You don't understand how things work. The strong survive. The weak perish. That is the law of nature." "Maybe," Jin said. "But mercy exists too. Kindness exists. And we remember both." "Then you are fools," Keelshar said flatly. "I am giving you one chance. Turn over the Vorum remnants immediately. If you do, we will consider this an unfortunate misunderstanding. If you refuse, we will take them by force and destroy every human ship that stands in our way." Jin felt his crew tense around him. They were outnumbered almost 5-1. In a straight fight, they would lose. But Jin had spent his whole career preparing for moments like this. Moments when principles mattered more than survival. "We refuse," Jin said clearly. "The Vorum are under human protection now. If you want them, you'll have to go through us." Keelshar leaned forward. "You would start a war over 40,000 aliens you have never met? You would risk your entire species for people who mean nothing to you." "They mean everything to us," Jin replied. "Because without them, we wouldn't exist. Thelver saved us when we were helpless. He died for that choice. We won't dishonor his memory by abandoning his people. So here's what's going to happen, Commander. You're going to turn your fleet around and leave. And we're going to forget this conversation happened. And if I refuse?" Keelshar asked dangerously. Jin smiled without humor. "Then you find out what happens when you threaten humanity. And I promise you won't enjoy the lesson." Keelshar cut the transmission. For several minutes, the two fleets faced each other in tense silence. Then, alarms blared across the bridge. "Altherian ships are powering weapons," Quan said urgently. "They're preparing to fire. All ships, battle stations," Jin ordered. "Activate countermeasures. Prepare for engagement." The human ships moved with practiced efficiency, spreading out into a defensive formation. They were newer, faster, and packed with technology that humanity had stolen, bought, or invented over 3 centuries. But they were still badly outnumbered. The first shots came from the Altherians. Energy beams lanced through space, targeting human ships. The Eternal Vigil shields flared as they absorbed the impact. Jin gripped his command chair as the ship shook. "Return fire," he ordered. "All weapons, full spread. Show them what we've got." The human ships unleashed a storm of missiles, railgun rounds, and energy weapons. Humanity had studied every conflict in galactic history, learning from species that have been fighting for thousands of years. Their weapons were precise, coordinated, and devastating. 3 Altherian ships exploded in the first volley. The rest scattered, surprised by the ferocity of the response. They had expected a short fight. They were getting a war. "Hey, deploy boarding teams," Jin ordered. "I want their command ships disabled." Hay grinned fiercely. "Already on it, sir." Small assault craft launched from the human ships, moving too fast for Altherian sensors to track properly. Each craft carried 10 Special Forces soldiers in powered armor. They used stealth technology that humanity had reverse-engineered from a dozen different species, making them nearly invisible. The boarding teams hit the Altherian command ships like hammers. They cut through hulls, disabled systems, and fought with a savagery that shocked the Altherians. Hay led the assault on Kilshar's flagship personally, her team moving through corridors and taking down defenders with brutal efficiency. On the bridge of the Eternal Vigil, Quan coordinated the fleet's movements. He was a genius at tactics, always 3 steps ahead. He predicted Altherian maneuvers and countered them before they developed. Human ships seemed to be everywhere at once, hitting and running, never staying still long enough to become easy targets. "Sir, we're taking heavy damage," Bin reported. "Shields at 40%. Hull breaches on decks 7 and 9. "Keep fighting," Jin ordered. "We just need to hold them long enough." "Long enough for what?" Bin asked. Jin smiled. "For them to realize this isn't worth it." He was right. The Altherians had expected an easy fight, a show of force that would make humanity back down. Instead, they were losing ships. Their command vessels were being boarded. Their perfect formation was falling apart. And the humans weren't stopping. Aboard Kilshar's flagship, Hay and her team reached the bridge. They cut through the door and stormed in, weapons ready. Kilshar stood at the center, surrounded by his officers. He looked at Hay with genuine shock. "How?" he demanded. "How are you doing this?" Hay removed her helmet. "We learned from the best. We studied every species that ever fought. We took their weapons, their tactics, their technology, and we improved on all of it. You thought we were traitors and diplomats. You were wrong. We're survivors. And we're really, really good at war." "This is madness," Kilshar said. "You're starting a conflict that will consume your entire species." "No," Hay said. "We're ending one. Right now. You're going to order your fleet to stand down. You're going to leave human space. And you're never going to threaten the Varm again. And if I refuse?" Hay gestured to her soldiers, who aimed their weapons at the Altherian crew. "Then we disable your flagship, destroy another dozen of your ships, and make this fight so costly that your own government will execute you for incompetence. Your choice, Commander." Kilshar looked into Hay's eyes and saw something that frightened him. Total commitment. No hesitation. No doubt. This human would kill him and everyone on his ship without blinking if she thought it necessary. He activated his communicator. "All Altherian ships, cease fire. Power down weapons. Retreat to defensive positions." The battle stopped as suddenly as it had started. Human ships held their positions, weapons still hot but no longer firing. The Altherians backed off, their formation broken and their pride shattered. Hay kept her weapon on Killshar. Smart choice. Now get out of our space. The Altherian fleet withdrew slowly, limping away with damaged ships and wounded pride. They had come to teach humanity a lesson and instead learned one themselves. Don't threaten people who have nothing to lose and everything to prove. On the Eternal Vigil, Jin watched them go. His ship was damaged. 2 of his vessels had been destroyed. Quan was dead, killed when a missile breached the tactical station. Dozens more had died across the fleet. But they had one. "Sir, we're receiving a message from Earth," Bin said quietly. "The government wants to know what the hell just happened." Jin smiled tiredly. "Tell them we paid a debt. Tell them humanity kept its word. And tell them that from now on, the galaxy knows what we stand for." Matriarch Vess sent her own message shortly after. It was simple. "Thank you. We will not forget this." Jin looked at the stars and thought about his grandfather. About Captain Tay and the promise he made 300 years ago. About Thelver and his final words before execution. About all the small moments of kindness that echoed through time. "We paid the debt, grandfather," Jin said softly. "And now the galaxy knows. Humanity remembers. The battle was over, but the legend was just beginning." The Veil Nebula was a nightmare to navigate. Clouds of gas and dust blocked sensors, and magnetic storms could tear a ship apart if the pilot wasn't careful. Admiral Jin stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Vigil, and watched his crew work with practiced efficiency. They had been searching for 3 days, following fragmentary sensor readings and intercepted Altherian communications. Quan sat at the tactical station, his fingers moving across holographic displays. He was tracking 17 different Altherian hunter groups, plotting their movements and trying to predict where they would converge. Next to him, Bin worked on decrypting enemy communications, pulling information from coded signals that the Altherians thought were secure. "We're getting close," Bin said. "I'm picking up Altherian chatter about targets located. They're excited, confident. That means they've found the Vorum. Can you pinpoint the location?" Jin asked. "Working on it," Bin replied. His screen filled with data. "Got it. Sector 447, near the unstable wormhole cluster. The Vorum are trying to use the wormholes to escape, but they're too damaged to make safe jumps." Jin turned to Quan. "How long until the Altherians reach them?" Quan's face was grim. 4 hours. Maybe 5. They're moving in from 3 directions. The Vorum are trapped. Then we have 4 hours to get there first, Jin said. "Hey, prep your teams. The moment we find the Vorum, we might need to board their ships. They won't trust us immediately." Hay nodded from her station. She commanded 200 Special Forces soldiers, the best humanity had. They were trained for boarding actions, rescue operations, and fighting in zero gravity. If anyone could convince scared refugees to accept help, it was Hay's teams. What if they refuse? Hay asked. What if they'd rather die than accept rescue from strangers? Then we convince them, Jin said. We show them the records. We show them that we know about Thelver. We show them that humanity doesn't forget. Sora, who had insisted on coming despite the danger, spoke up from her station. I've prepared a data package with everything we found. Thelver's execution record, the historical files about first contact, even video of Captain Tay's testimony. If they doubt us, we have proof. The fleet pushed deeper into the nebula. Space was thick with interference, and every few minutes alarms blared as they passed through pockets of radiation or magnetic disturbance. Twice they had to maneuver around Altherian patrols, using the nebula's natural cover to stay hidden. Finally, sensors picked up the Vorum fleet. 12 ships, just as the intelligence reports had said. But seeing them on screen made Jin's heart sink. The vessels were ancient, held together with makeshift repairs. Energy signatures showed failing reactors. Life support was minimal. These weren't warships. They were coffins, carrying the last members of a dying species. "Open a channel," Jin ordered. "All frequencies. Let's hope they're listening." Bin worked his controls, then nodded. "Channel open, sir." Jin took a breath. "Vorum vessels, this is Admiral Jin of the Terran Defense Fleet. We are humans. We know you have no reason to trust us, but we're here to help. 300 years ago, one of your commanders saved humanity's first deep space crew. His name was Thelver. We've come to repay that debt." Silence. The Vorum ships didn't respond, didn't slow down, didn't change course. They just kept running toward the wormhole cluster, desperate to escape. "Try again," Jin said. "Vorum fleet, please respond. We have evidence of what Thelver did. We know he was executed for showing us mercy. We know your species has been hunted almost to extinction. Let us help you. Let us repay what was given." Still nothing. Then, finally, a signal came back. The voice was harsh, filtered through a translator that had seen better days. "We know what you are, humans. We know you ally with the Altharians. This is a trick. You want to capture us for them." "No," Jin said firmly. "We want to save you. I swear on my grandfather's name, on the honor of every human alive, we're here to help." "Honor means nothing," the Vorum voice said. "The Altharians promised us peace. They promised us mercy. Instead, they slaughtered billions. Why should humans be different?" Sora stepped forward. "Because Thelver saved us when we were weak. Because he died for that choice. Because humanity has spent 300 years becoming strong enough to repay the debt. We're not like the Altharians. We remember. We pay what we owe." A different voice came through the channel, older and colder. "I am Matriarch Vess, leader of this fleet. These are the last free Vorum in the galaxy. We will not trade one slavery for another. We will not beg for scraps from species that once feared us. We choose death with honor." Jin felt frustration rising but kept his voice calm. "Thelver didn't give you death with honor. He gave you life. He gave you a chance. That's what we're offering. Not slavery, not charity. A chance to survive, to rebuild, to live." "Thelver is remembered as a traitor by most of our people," Vess said bitterly. "A fool who broke sacred laws for sentiment. His mercy was weakness. His mercy saved an entire species." Jin shouted, losing his composure for a moment. He took a breath and continued more quietly. "Your people executed him for saving 12 humans. Those 12 went home and built a civilization. We colonized 200 worlds. We built fleets that rival any in the galaxy. All because one Vorum commander chose to be kind instead of cruel. If that's weakness, then give me weakness over strength any day." Silence stretched. Then Vess spoke again, her voice different, uncertain. "You truly came here to help us? Even though it risks war with the Altharians?" "We truly did," Jin confirmed. "We brought 12 warships and our best crews. We're prepared to fight the Altharians if that's what it takes. Humanity pays its debts, Matriarch. Always. Altharian hunter groups are converging on our position," Quan announced suddenly. "Multiple contacts, coming fast. We have maybe 90 minutes. Vess heard the announcement. "You should run, Admiral Jin. Save yourselves. We are already dead. The only way we run is with you coming alongside us," Jin said. "Matriarch, I'm sending you the data we have on Thelver. Look at it. See what we know. Then make your choice. But make it fast. The clock is running." Sora transmitted the package. On the Varm flagship, Vess and her advisors reviewed the files. They saw the records of the first contact. They saw Captain Tay's testimony. They saw Thelver's execution order and his final words. For the first time, they saw evidence that their long-dead commander had done something that mattered. Thelver spoke of humans in his final testimony, Vess said slowly. He said, "You showed wonder, hope, and unbreakable will to endure." He said if you survived, you would reshape the galaxy. The executioners mocked him, called him a dreamer. But he was right, wasn't he? He was right, Jin confirmed. And he deserves better than to have his people die because we were too scared to act. Come with us, Matriarch. Let us take you to human space. Let us give your people a chance to rebuild. Vess was quiet for a long moment. If we come with you, the Altherians will declare you enemies. Let them, Jin said. We've fought worse. If we come with you, we will owe humanity a debt we can never repay. You already repaid it, Jin said gently. Thelver repaid it 300 years ago. Everything after is just friendship. Finally, Vess made her decision. Very well, Admiral. We will trust you. But know this. If you betray us, if this is a trick, we will take as many of you with us as we can. Fair enough, Jin said with a slight smile. Now let's get out of here before the Altherians arrive. Quan, plot a jump route. Hey, send boarding teams to help stabilize the Vorum ships. We're taking them home. The human fleet moved to surround the Vorum vessels, protecting them. Hayes' teams boarded the refugee ships and found conditions even worse than expected. The Vorum were starving, injured, and traumatized. But they were alive. And they would stay that way. Quan worked frantically on jump calculations. Sir, I can't plot a safe route with all these ships. The Vorum vessels are too damaged. They'll break apart in hyperspace. Jin thought fast. Then we don't use hyperspace. Bin, can you create a stable wormhole? Bin looked up, surprised. With what? We'd need massive energy output and precise calculations. Use every ship's reactor, Jin ordered. Link them together. Quan, help him with the math. We create one wormhole big enough for all of us. Then we shut it down before the Altherians can follow. It was insane. Dangerous. The kind of maneuver that existed only in theory. But they had no choice. The human ships linked their power systems, creating an energy grid. Been fed in the calculations. Reality twisted and a massive wormhole opened, swirling with purple and blue energy. All ships go, Jin ordered. One by one, the Vorum vessels jumped through, followed by the human warships. Just as the last ship cleared, Altherian forces arrived. They fired, but it was too late. The wormhole collapsed, leaving them on the wrong side. On the bridge of the Eternal Vigil, Jin allowed himself a smile. They had done it. Against the odds, against their own allies, they had saved the Vorum. But the real challenge was just beginning. 50 years had passed since the battle at human space's edge. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The story of humanity's stand for the Vorum had spread to every corner of known space, growing with each retelling until it became something between history and myth. They called it the Vorum Incident, and it defined how the galaxy saw humanity. Ambassador Hyon stood on the observation deck of the Thelver Memorial Station and looked out at the stars. The station floated at the edge of the Veil Nebula, right where Admiral Jin's fleet had fought the Altherians 5 decades ago. It was a joint construction, built by humans and Vorum together, a symbol of friendship forged in dead and blood. Hyon was 28 years old, tall and confident, with his grandfather's eyes. Admiral Jin was long retired now, living quietly on Mars, but his legacy shaped everything Hyon did. The weight of that legacy was heavy sometimes, but Hyon wore it proudly. Today was the 50th anniversary of the rescue. Dignitaries from dozens of species had come to attend the ceremony. The station was crowded with aliens who wanted to see the place where humanity had proven what it stood for, where it had fought its own allies to save a dying people. Matriarch Vess walked slowly toward Hyan, her ancient body supported by a mechanical frame. She was old now, nearly 200 years by Vorum counting. She had been middle-aged when Jin rescued her people. Now she was the last living Vorum who remembered the old empire, who had lived through the war and the running and the final desperate flight. "Ambassador," Vess said, her translator giving her words a warm tone. "Thank you for inviting me." "The honor is mine, Matriarch," Hyan replied with a respectful bow. "Without you and your people, this station wouldn't exist. Neither would the friendship between our species." Vess made a sound like laughter. "Our people owe humanity everything. We were 40,000 refugees with no hope. Now we are 4 million strong, with colonies on 6 worlds. All because your grandfather refused to let us die. He just paid a debt," Hyan said. "What Thelver gave us 350 years ago." "Yes," Vess said softly. "Thelver. He would be proud to see what came from his choice, and ashamed of how our people treated him for it." They walked together through the station's memorial hall. Holographic displays showed the history. Captain Tay's first contact. Thelver's execution. The centuries of human growth. Admiral Jin's desperate search. The battle against the Altherians. And finally, the rebuilding of the Vorum people under human protection. In the center of the hall stood a statue. It showed 2 figures, a human in an old-style spacesuit reaching up and a tall Vorum reaching down. Their hands met in the middle. The plaque beneath reads simply, "Mercy given, mercy returned. Never forgotten." The ceremony began in the main hall. Hundreds of beings gathered, representing dozens of species. Some were allies of humanity. Others were neutral. A few were even former enemies who had learned to respect human determination. The Altherians had sent an ambassador too, though Hyan noticed they stood apart from everyone else. Still bitter about their defeat, Hyan stepped to the podium. The crowd fell silent. 50 years ago today, Hyan began, my grandfather made a choice. He could have followed politics and abandoned the Vorum to their fate. He could have chosen safety over honor. Instead, he chose to pay a debt that was 3 centuries old. He chose to prove that humanity's word means something. He paused, looking at the crowd. Many species mocked that choice. They said we were fools, that we were risking everything for people we had never met, that mercy was weakness in a harsh galaxy. But my grandfather taught us something different. He taught us that kindness is strength, that debts matter, that who you are in the dark, when no one is watching, defines who you truly are. Matriarch Vess stepped up beside him. Humans saved us when we had nothing, she said. They fought their own allies for us. They bled and died for us. And they asked for nothing in return. That is not weakness. That is power. True power. In the audience, a young alien raised a tentacle. She was from the Kelsey Collective, a species that had only recently joined Galactic Society. I have a question, she said nervously. Why did Admiral Jin do it? Really? Debts from 300 years ago don't usually matter. Hyan smiled. Because humanity remembers. We teach our children about Thel the way others teach about ancient kings or gods. Every human knows the story. Every human learns that we exist because one alien chose mercy over orders. How could we forget that? How could we not repay it? Sora, now elderly but still sharp, spoke from her seat. I spent years researching Thelver. Do you know what I found? He kept journals, private logs that his people tried to erase. I found them in a data archive on an abandoned Vorum colony. The hall went completely silent. This was new information. In his journals, Sora continued, Felver wrote about meeting the humans. He said he saw something in their eyes that his people had lost. Wonder, hope, an unbreakable will to survive and grow. He wrote that if humans lived, they would reshape the galaxy. And he was right. She pulled up a holographic display showing Thelver as final entry. The translator converted the Varm script to English. I have been sentenced to death for showing mercy. My people call me traitor, but I regret nothing. I saw in those 12 humans what we Vorm once were, before war consumed us. If they survive, they will remind this galaxy that there are things worth more than power. I only hope they remember mercy when they have strength. Tears ran down Matriarch Vess's face. I never knew, she whispered. I never knew he believed in us so much. He did, Hyan said gently. And we proved him right. Humanity grew strong. And when we had power, we remembered where it came from. We remembered the alien who saw our potential and gave us a chance to reach it. The ceremony continued with speeches and displays. But the real impact came afterward, in the quiet conversations between species who had heard the story. The Kelsey delegate approached Hyan with her entire team. Our people are young to the galaxy, she said. We're scared. There are so many threats, so many ways to fail. But your story gives us hope. It shows that kindness matters. That being good isn't the same as being weak. Over the next few days, 17 different species requested meetings with human ambassadors. They wanted alliances, trade agreements, mutual defense pacts. The legend of humanity's stand for the Varm had made them desirable allies. Everyone wanted friends who remembered debts and kept promises, but not everyone was happy. The Altherian ambassador cornered Hyan in a corridor. Your species is too confident, the Altherian said coldly. You make enemies by putting principles over politics. We make friends by keeping our word, Hyan replied. How many species would fight for the Altherians the way we fought for the Varm? The Altherian had no answer. That was the problem. The Altherians had allies based on fear and trade. Humanity had allies based on trust and honor. In the long run, that made all the difference. That evening, Hyan visited his grandfather on Mars via video call. Jin looked old now, his hair completely white, his hands shaking slightly. But his eyes were still sharp. How was the ceremony? Jin asked. Perfect, Hyan said. The Varm are thriving. They've built beautiful cities. Their technology is advancing. They're happy, grandfather. You saved them, and they're actually happy. Jin smiled. Good. That's all I wanted. Did Vess speak? She did. She cried when she heard Thelver's final words. She never knew how much he believed in humans. Jin nodded slowly. He saw something in us. We had to prove he was right. Did we, you think? Yes, Hyan said firmly. The galaxy knows now. They know humanity keeps its word. That we remember debts. That we'll fight for what's right even when it's dangerous. Thelver gave us that reputation when he showed us mercy. You cemented it when you returned it. I had good people with me, Jin said. Quan He, Bin Sora. They all believed. They all risked everything. His voice grew sad. Quan never got to see what we built. He knew, Hyan said. He knew what the fight meant. They all did. They talked for a while longer before Hyan had to go. But before ending the call, Jin said something that stayed with Hyan forever. Listen carefully, grandson. The galaxy is watching humanity now. They've seen what we'll do for friends. They've seen how we fight. Some species love us for it. Some fear us. But they all respect us. That's power. Real power. Use it wisely. Don't waste it. And never, ever forget why we have it. We have it because one alien looked at 12 scared humans and chose kindness. Everything flows from that moment. I won't forget, Hyan promised. None of us will. The call ended. Hyan stood alone in his quarters, looking at a picture of Thelver that Sora had found in the archives. The Vorum commander looked stern and military, but there was something in his posture that suggested compassion underneath the armor. Thank you, Hyan said to the picture, for believing in us, for giving us a chance. We tried to honor that. We're still trying. Across human space, the story continued to spread. Children learned about Thelver and Tay and Jin. They learned that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its weapons or its technology. It was its memory, its refusal to forget those who helped, its commitment to repaying debts no matter the cost. Other species started to copy that principle. Acts of kindness between civilizations became more common, not because it was smart or profitable, but because the Vorum and Sidon